Ray tracing is a feature that has been around for quite some time now. The idea behind the feature was introduced in 1982 at Osaka University and can be traced back even earlier than that to 1980 when Woodard spoke of ray casting. The phrase was coined in 1969 by Arthur Appel while working at IMB. Although ray tracing has gone through quite the evolution, for the most part it has been dismissed as nothing more than a gimmick. That is until 2018 when public opinion over the feature drastically changed. When Nvidia introduced their first line of RTX graphics cards, the 2080 was at the forefront and showcased as the first card that would be able to truly handle the feature. Ray tracing might have been possible on some of the earlier GTX cards as well, but the 20 series cards just had so much more potential due to the massive increase in power. The term RTX was immediately dismissed as a marketing ploy to sell more cards for high-end PCs, and it is easy to understand why. Due to most hardware being unable to support ray tracing, most developers never even bothered to support the feature for their game, and why would they? That of course is a far construct of what we see today, with most if not all AAA games supporting it. So should anyone actually care about ray tracing? Although ray tracing is a relatively new buzzword in the gaming world, the feature has been a mainstay of computer graphics in film and TV for years. It simply refers to the process of tracing the path of light rays as they bounce around the scene. This let computers accurately render things like shadows, reflections, highlights and bounce light. The result is a scene that looks more realistic with less work. Ray tracing in simple terms improves your visuals. People can notice bad graphics immediately, and with that people notice really impressive graphics immediately as well, and as a result it encourages people to play for longer. Now ray tracing does not just make a game look better, but the feature is also a lot easier to implement. Whether it is ray tracing or not, shadows and lights has always been in games within the modern era. However, the process of including these visuals is painstakingly complicated and long. A feature like ray tracing eliminates this complicated process, leaving the developers more time to focus on other things like how they're going to implement NFTs into video games and add more microtransactions. Now, not everything is perfect with this feature though. Ray tracing is extremely demanding, and as a result you need to be ready for massive frame rate drops. Most of the time the increase in visuals is just not worth the massive drops in frames, so many just choose to simply turn off the feature. Both AMD and Nvidia does have solutions for this though. Nvidia offers DLSS, that is an AI rendering technology that increases graphics performance using dedicated Tensor Core AI processors on G4 RTX GPUs. DLSS taps into the power of deep learning neural networks to boost frame rates and generate beautiful sharp images for your games. Fidelity FX, which is AMD's alternative to DLSS, offers the same solution. That brings us to the Xbox Series X. A big selling point behind this generation was 4K visuals, 60 frames and ray tracing effects. Labeled as the most powerful console ever produced by Xbox, which by the way every new Xbox console is the most powerful console ever, ray tracing was at the forefront of advertising for Microsoft. Although still seriously lacking behind some of the more powerful GPUs, the current generation of consoles is more than capable of running ray tracing. As a result, the feature has been widely implemented across a number of games and will continue to be used in all future AAA games going forward. To sum it up, ray tracing is here to stay. Ray tracing has evolved since it was first introduced all those years ago, and even now it still manages to evolve. The original marketing ploy reputation has long since been shed, and now it is a staple of visual excellence. Just like 1080p is still the standard within gaming, even though 4K is available, non-ray trace games is still the majority, despite RTX being accessible in modern AAA games. Ray tracing has worked its way into the mainstream, and at this point we can safely say that it is the future of gaming.